Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a short little knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Civivi ExOne. Could be EX1, it's probably X1, designed by Brian Brown of Brian Brown Knives. This knife is available. I'll link it down in the description. A couple of different configurations, not super expensive, definitely a budget knife. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks to Civivi for sending this knife in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. And on TikTok at _metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this knife. Definitely on the smaller side at like 7 1/8. Blade length is coming in at 3 1/8. Cutting edge is coming in at about 2.65. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Others. It's also in the pinned comment. 80-10 and the 80-20.5, much closer to the size of the 80-20.5. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3? Once again, closer to the smaller one here with exactly the same amount of cutting edge as the Spyderco Para 3. And then finally up against the Benchmade Reptilian, or in this case the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. How's the action on this knife? It is exactly the same as pretty much every other Civivi I've ever handled. If you are new to Civivi, Civivi makes great knives. They are definitely one of the top contenders for the budget knife world. The detents are always nice and clicky most of the time, right? Fit and finish is always very, very good. A lot of people consider them to be kind of a standard. It's sort of like if you're used to buying like Ozark trail knives stuff. I'm not coming down on anybody. I'm just saying if like that's your measure of quality, sometimes a Civivi knife can be a major eye opener for a lot of people, right? So if your current pocket knife is working for you, there's no reason to upgrade it. But if you're curious, handling a Civivi is eye opening for a lot of people. But anyways, yeah. The action's good. Access to the liner lock is all right. They probably could have carved this out a little bit more, but it's easy to get a hold of it. There's no double clutch or anything like that. Flipping it is very easy. And reverse flicking it is also easy thanks to the super ledgy fuller there in the blade. Let's go and do carry profile thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. Not super thick. It's about maybe a little bit thicker because of the scales on top of the liners. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This is not a difficult knife to carry. Pretty compact, somewhat tall, not crazy, right? It's not going to be anything like overly cumbersome for the vast majority of people. Materials. We have, interestingly, white G10 with lime green liners. Why they didn't match the pocket clip and pivot, which actually would have been kind of cool, I don't know. But they do have, if you're not like into what other thing on earth is white and lime green, I have no idea what to compare this to. Usually I have some witty thing to say there, but my brain just hit a brick wall. I have no idea. Tell me things that are cream colored and lime green down in the comments section. Something I could have said there. I would greatly appreciate it, and I'll enjoy reading them. But anyways, lost my train of thought. There is a basic, like just a standard looking all black one. There's also one with like wood scales, right? So if you don't like this, you know, this colorful setup, then you don't have to go with that. But we have G10 steel liners, and we have Nitro V for the blade with steel bits and bobs, which is not something I say. I don't know why that came out of my mouth. The liners and the pieces of hardware and stuff like that, or the pocket clip pivot, it's all steel. Weight is coming in at 3.5 ounces. No surprise there. That's not really light or heavy. It's just kind of, it's 3.5 ounces. I think its fine balance is actually right behind the pivot, so the whole thing just doesn't feel super duper big. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm gonna get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. The hardware is almost certainly T8 across the board. That's what Civivi does. T8, and then we have T6 pocket clip screws, which is fine. You have ambidextrous mounting positions, which is nice. I'm glad that they do that. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Let's measure the blade stock thickness real quick, and then we can move on to the meat and potatoes. Honestly, it's going to be pretty simple, pretty smooth flying from here on out. 116,000, so on the thinner side. Okay, this is definitely a knife profile that we have seen before. But it's hard to come up with like completely and totally unique profiles, right? Whenever I review a really, really generic blade profile, people sort of, it's a knee-jerk reaction to say it's a copy of something. It's a Wharncliffe blade. There are thousands and thousands of folding knives, fixed blades, right, that have a similar blade profile. And whatever it is that it might look like is probably came like thousands of models after whatever was the actual original, right? Same with the handle profiles. Pretty straightforward. But it's very generic. That's fine. Does it work ergonomically? Yeah. It's pretty comfortable. The only thing that I can feel honestly that stands out is the pocket clip, because Civivi won't change this clip and they won't adjust clip size for the style of knife. Honestly, Civivi, I know you won't change the clip. I doubt they even watch these reviews. I doubt it, right? But I have a suggestion. Instead, like if we just have to have this Loch Ness Monster build that absolutely will eventually snag something you're walking by and bend out. That's what's going to happen, right? If you have to have that, you should make at least 2 different sizes of this clip. And then you should use the smaller one for smaller knives so that you don't have this huge clip taking up 65% the length of the handle. What happens is as you grip it, that bill goes right here in your hand. If you're using this knife to break down heavy cardboard or do whatever, continuous work for a long period of time, right? I mean, yeah, you should be wearing gloves, but if you're not, that is going to get super duper uncomfortable. This can be remedied, like massively remedied, by having the bill of the clip back here. It's still in your hand, but as you're cutting, like a lot of the pressure in your hand is up here, right? Up here. So if that bill isn't pushing into you from the other side, it's much less likely you'll get a blister or just be generally uncomfortable while you're cutting. So if Civivi had 2 different clips, just one this length for the bigger knives and one about 60% the length of this, like maybe something about the size of, where's my bug out? My bug out is gone. Nope, there it is. Like this, right? That's great. Doesn't go into your hand. It's way back here. That'd be great. It's my suggestion. Doubt that we'll get anywhere with it, but okay. That's what I feel. The rest of the knife, yeah, it's plenty ergonomic. Why this has the most aggressive jimping up here I've ever felt, I have no idea. These are shark teeth. Jeez. We don't need that. Like I would call, like the Rat has aggressive jimping. That's pretty aggressive, but this is wild. That's nuts. Really, really heavy duty jimping there. I'm not sure what setting this knife was meant to be used in where that level of jimping was appropriate. I mean, that is like you should be wearing gloves kind of jimping. So yeah, it's pretty aggressive, but it does lock you in. The rest of the knife is pretty straightforward. I mean, you have a super duper hollow ground, Wharncliffe blade. I mean, for real, that is thin. Wow. That is a laser beam. As far as your shaping cuts, slicing, I mean, it's not going to be an excellent slicer because it's a straight blade, but general cutting tasks and shaping, you know, things like that. I mean, this is a laser beam. That's what that is you know, reserved for, that term, laser beam. Super duper sharp. Definitely the highlight of this. Nitro V, great steel, totally appropriate at this price point. I have no problem with it whatsoever. Big fan. Let's see. We have the white peel ply texture G10, which again just looks really strange with the green liners. But it's neat that Civivi does this. Every time I see him, I'm like, hey, you should do a custom shop where we can like pick the liner color and the pocket clip color and stuff like that. That'd be really, really cool. But they just seem to apply random colors whenever they feel like it to various models. So I don't know. Maybe someday we'll see that. Backspacer made of white G10 as well. Pocket clip, like I said, is ambidextrous in nature, and the pocket clip does its job. It holds the knife to your pocket, right? Knives should go inside your pocket. I joke around about like Home Depot dads like clipping the pocket to the outside of their pocket, which is always funny. And you know, it's almost like the joke's dying because it's like, but nobody really does that, right? I know some of you do. I know some of you do. Oh, stop doing that. The knife goes in your pocket. The pocket clip goes on the outside. Okay. You know what? Do whatever you want. You bought it, right? You do whatever you want. That's just, you don't have to listen to me. There is shouldering back here. Wraps around the stop pin nicely. No blade plate up, down, left, or right. It does run on bearings. You probably knew that. No lock stick. No pivot lash. Smooth and consistent. This will get better over time. Just need to pay attention to the pivot. Might need tightening or Loctite. Super clicky detent. And perfect centering with no detent lash. This is a $56 knife. I think the base price is $56. Yeah, it's fine. It's not really doing anything that, like, there are knives that are almost identical, more or less, that you can get on Amazon through like some of the lesser known Chinese companies that are making like knives that are legitimately just as good, right? You could, there's a few different steels you could make an argument for at this price point. 14C28N. If you're lucky, you might see 154cm. Nitro V is fine. Even like 9CR 18MOV, D2, right? People argue more or less, like this steel's a little bit better, this steel, whatever. The geometry of this blade is probably the standout feature. Nothing else about this knife is super amazing. So for 40 bucks, you could probably find 10 to 20 other models that are almost identical, made by companies that are lesser known but able to execute with similar materials the exact same way. So Civivi makes great knives. They used to be one of the only standout companies making some of this stuff. Now they have competitors like left and right, up, down, all over the place, right? So this doesn't really stand out to me, but it's a decent knife. It's under $75. It's a well-designed knife. Civivi slapped their stupid clip on it. But the rest of the knife is fine. It's just like, it's not a standout model. So I'm going to put it in my cheap knives I like playlist, but that's it, right? If you like this, there are probably literally 100 other models out there that you would like the same or better for less. So I would say look around. A lot of them actually exist in Civivi's own line, and you should check out their budget brand, Sencut, who also has lots of knives that are competitive. That's going to be pretty much it today, guys. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at _metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.